2 athletes that will be heading to the Reebok Crossfit Championships that's taking place in July, and I want to welcome them to the show as well. No strangers to Trinidad and Tobago television. I've got Lyndsay and also Matthaus Otero. Guys, welcome to the show. Thank you much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Good morning, Ryan.
Congratulations on qualifying for the CrossFit Games of 2020.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys qualified for this last year.
Yes.
So, you know, this has been a long time in making, a long time in preparing, because Matthaus, you're no newcomer to this. You've been doing this for a long time. You've been our national CrossFit champion for a number of years. So this really, is it the pinnacle of your career, you'd say?
It is the pinnacle of my career, because if you asked me this like 10 years ago when I started, what would be your dream? And I'd be like, one day I think I want to make it to the CrossFit Games.
Wow.
So last year when that happened, and Lyndsay and I walked onto the field, you just get chills, just stepping on the field, looking at the crowd, knowing that, wow, I was that person in the stands thinking, I want to be there now.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Lyndsay, how about you?
Same. I mean, in any CrossFit athlete's career, this is the pinnacle of it. This is what all of them aim to go to. So it's a huge deal for anyone who makes it.
All right, so we're going to get to the CrossFit Games of 2020 soon. I believe it's in Wisconsin. Correct me if I'm wrong. Right, it is Wisconsin. But let's talk about CrossFit Trinidad and Tobago. Hema Ramkissoon was exiting the set, and she was very much interested in joining CrossFit. But it is hugely popular, and it is growing ever so more popular across T&T.
Yeah. It is slowly growing, because a lot of people don't know what CrossFit is. And then CrossFit is just constantly varied function movement, and our aim is to develop fitness in a broad and a general goal. So we use a lot of like Olympic lifting, gymnastics, powerlifting, and just combine it together in a safe atmosphere.
Right, and you have a huge gym.
Yes.
In Woodbrook.
No, in St. James.
In St. James, actually. Yeah, I've been there a couple of times when we actually did that story. In between the last 5 years, how is CrossFit really? Has it grown? It's
grown a lot. Because when we moved there about 3 to 4 years ago, we had, say, like 50 clients. Now we have 100 plus more clients.
Wow.
And every year we seem to get more and more. And people enjoy it because we make it like a family-oriented, as opposed to you just come in, work out, and leave.
All right, so for the people who don't know about CrossFit, Lyndsay, what exactly is it?
I explain it to people as training for different sports or combined into one. So it's just a sport of fitness, but it tests every aspect of fitness. So you literally come to class and you have no idea what area of fitness you're testing that day.
It's not like going to the gym then, where you can plan a routine.
So one day you might get like a 3-kilometer run as well as a 1-rep max lift in that same session. I mean, those barely ever happen, but you also would get 10 minutes of just doing barbell work at high repetition. So pretty much every workout is a cardio workout with weights.
Would you say then, Matthaus, and I think I asked you this a few years ago, would you say it really does combine gym, but really put it into a sporting aspect of gym?
If you like to compete, it's like the perfect sport to get into, because it's constantly varied, as Lyndsay said. So you don't get stuck doing the same thing over and over.
One of the things that I asked you, and I remember asking you this specifically, is that, you know, CrossFit, yes, it's growing. Yes, it's getting ever so popular with each year that goes by. But do we have enough facilities, such as the one that you train in St. James, across Trinidad and Tobago for people across the island to get into CrossFit?
There's a lot of boxes, not only in Trinidad, but within the Caribbean, and the sport itself is growing. But for it to grow more, we need to get stuff like sponsorship and so on, just to get better at that.
How expensive would you say to the average person, Lyndsay, is CrossFit sports?
If you want just a regular membership, it's actually quite affordable. So there are different packages. 500 is unlimited packages, unlimited membership for the month. So you can come to as many classes as you want. You can come twice a day, and you get coaching as well. So for me, that's a really good price to pay. Whereas a gym membership, you pay, let's say, between $300 and $400. You go by yourself, you do your own thing, form your own program. So for the price you're getting and what you're getting out of it, it's a really good price.
All right, so let's talk. You know, one of the things that I really appreciate, and I'll tell you this on TV, is that, you know, we have a lot of athletes who compete at international tournaments, but the trick is for them to train abroad with different athletes abroad. You guys have trained in that box in St. James for years. You've never moved out of that box. You've been there, you've done it there. You've done all your preparation work there, and you've qualified for one of the most prestigious, if not the most prestigious, CrossFit Games of 2020 internationally. How does that feel to have been really not only born here, but also bred in Trinidad and Tobago? Now you're heading to this international tournament, competing with athletes around the globe.
Well, to me, I don't think words could really describe how you feel, knowing that we are like homegrown, and then we compete with athletes that we look up to.
What also plays a big part is that we mostly train by ourselves. So athletes away, the best of the best would get together and train together, push each other. But I mean, sometimes he would get people to jump in with him, but based on what we have to do in time, it's very hard that people actually are there with us every single day training.
At the end of the day, Lyndsay and I both have jobs. I coach, she has a job.
Yeah.
So it's when we're not working, that's when we have time to train. So it might be like 1 hour, 15 minutes, 2 hours. It all depends on what our schedule is like.
Yeah.
What was the journey like? You said that this was a decade-long dream. You were once that boy in the crowd looking at the athletes, hoping that one day you would be center stage. Now you're center stage.
I know I'm center stage, yeah. Well, the journey was a long journey. Yes, it's fun being there, but the journey leading towards it is always hard. And when you look back at the work you do put in, you be like, that's why I put in that work, those hours, those sleepless nights and so on, to get to where I am now.
Lyndsay, what about you? I mean, you're virtually blazing a trail for women in this sport, heading towards the top.
I mean, it was fantastic. The work, I mean, leading up to the games, there were points where I was just drained, really had nothing to give, but you push through and the end result is really, really worth it, so.
Now we look to head to Wisconsin. It's going to be a huge moment in your lives in July. In between now, it's January and July. What are the next 6 months going to look like for you guys?
Well, Lyndsay and I both have the same coach now. So we are going to work one-on-one with our coach, and he's going to set like training camps for us to do leading up to the games itself.
Yeah.
So
that would be like a Thursday to Sunday of about 4 events per day leading up to that. So it's quite intensive. So the demands on our body is going to be a lot more as well.
You're heading to Wisconsin. I'm sure that you guys are not going there just to make up numbers. What are your goals? What are your aspirations? What do you go to bed thinking about what you'd like to accomplish in Wisconsin?
because how it went last year, that they had 150 athletes, and then they cut the field to the first 75. Then from 75, the next day they go to 50, and then 25. So Lyndsay made it to the 75 last year.
Yeah.
So my goal would be to try to make it within that 74 place to go to the next step. And then from there, whatever happens.
Same.
Yeah?
I mean, the level of athletes we're going up against is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the fact that we even get to compete against them is a big deal. But if we can actually make it to the second event, that's huge for us.
It'll also be a great experience because you talk about the level of the competition and the quality of the athletes, but actually just being there and competing and then in that environment is going to do your careers and the experience for your careers a whole lot of good.
Yeah, I definitely will. Just being there alone and standing next to the guys that you looked up to. And if you beat them in a work, I'd be like, hey, I beat that guy. You know? So, you can't tell me anything.
What do you think something like this can do for Trinidad and Tobago? You mentioned that hundreds more keep coming in every year because it's growing popular. Those hundreds could be inspired and say, I want to be at the Reebok Games one day.
Because what Lyndsay and I are doing is like paving a road for the future generations to actually compete in the sport itself. Because everyone thinks CrossFit as a fitness, but it could also be as a sport as well, where you could earn money and so on. But you have to go away to compete and so.
Yeah. How difficult do you think this competition will be when you look at the entire scope of it and everybody who's competing from abroad? How do you think this competition is going to pan out in July?
The hardest competition of life, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's how I'll explain it. Simple.
It's not easy because they tell us the workouts either the day of, the moment of. So we wouldn't know what we're gonna do. So we might have to like run, swim, ride, lift heavy, is whatever they wanna throw at us.
How do you, you say that, but that calls not only for a certain amount of physical preparation, but also mental preparation.
Yeah, it's a lot mental.
It is more mental than physical.
Because if you're going to only know a few hours before what you're going to do, how do you mentally prepare for that?
It's not, it's leading up to it. So leading up to it, you have to prepare for every aspect of training, regardless of what comes. So no matter what comes, you're already prepared physically. So mentally, it's just you getting in the zone and being ready for whatever they bring.
I mean, you've got Trinidad and Tobago on your side, guys. What would you like to tell them?
I'd like to tell them to come and try out CrossFit. It's fun. it's addictive if you love to work out.
But it's also a huge opportunity as well
Yes.
to
Yeah.
move on up in a sport.
Yeah.
Listen, Matthaus, Otero, Lyndsay, and Murray, we wish you guys the best of luck, and we hope that you guys come back after the Reebok Games and tell us how it was.
Definitely,
Thank you.
Moran.
Thank you very much for being on The Morning Shot, and good luck.